Right. Okie dokie. Let's go back. I have no idea if this is working. For some reason my camera seems to have done the wide angle lens version. Not quite sure why that is. Oh, right, okay. I found some continuity there. Okay, I think I shall turn that off actually because we're getting my own sound, my own voice on the rebound. For some strange reason, this camera has decided to do this different angle today. I think my camera is kind of playing up. Hello to everybody. Who have we got for this latest ramble of a live stream? I'm only planning to do this for about an hour, and he keeps saying that, and he ends up being about 2 or 3 hours long. But you know what? I've got to cut it short because I've got to go down to the lockup in about an hour and a half because I forgot materials that I might need for a job that is coming up. Typically, I actually went down there today, did something different, completely forgot what I meant to get down there, and then came back and realised what I'd done. So great. Who have we got? We've got 3 viewers. Hello, who have we got? Somebody start the chat, please, because I don't want to keep talking to myself. This is a very strange angle, this is. This is a very, very weird angle. Nope. Does anybody want to say hello today? Because I am not going to be... it's going to be a bit awkward me talking to myself because this is kind of a sign of madness, as they say. Oh, hello, Tadaska. Tadas. Hello, how are you, sir? I'm glad you can join this live stream. I have no idea what time it is in Lithuania, but I'm really pleased that you could join the live stream. You are one of the most regular people here, always on the live stream. And strangely enough, I can tell you I've just completed your car feature. Because of all the fantastic information that you gave me and all the details you gave me about your Mark 1. The script you gave me, you literally gave me a script. And you pointed me towards all the correct photos for when I'm talking about a certain thing. And it made my job really easy. Oh, 10 p.m. Oh, that's fine. So, okay. You're only a couple of hours behind. Okay. No problem then. As I say, I'm only going to keep this live stream up for about an hour. I thought I would just slip a live stream in. Yeah, absolutely. That was that was the story for the car. It was literally a script, and it made making the episode really easy, and it's a really good one. I will tell you that the pictures you gave me at the end of the day, and I have to say this about when I did the shout out. I should have made this really clear. The feature on your car is only as good as the information that you give me and the pictures that you give me. If I don't get much information and I don't get decent pictures or not many of them, I can't really make it very good, if you know what I mean. I can't really do to the point where it's a sort of high quality video that I would like to put out. But I did do that shout out for a very good reason and just to celebrate what other people are doing on their cars. This is weird. I look absolutely tiny on the screen. This is some weird angle. I don't know what my phone camera is playing up. Hello, Frank. Hello, sir. How are you? I hope you're keeping okay. Yeah, so the idea of featuring other cars is basically, I'm just one enthusiast who's decided to do some videos to help others. But the truth is, it's not about me, it's about everybody else in the community of Mark 1 Focuses. And the only way of growing a community is by celebrating the little victories that people have with their own cars and why they are connected to their cars and what makes it tick. Basically, why did you buy a Mark 1? Why have you got one? And what motivates you to keeping that car preserved? Let's face it, these cars are now of a certain age where people need and require different motivations to keep these cars going. And financially, it's tough. It's really tough because these are usually not daily cars no more, or at least they're not someone's first car, they're someone's second car. So it makes it even more tricky financially to justify and motivate yourself to looking after such cars, which is kind of where I come in. Funny enough, that was one day. Pictures and instrument cluster photos was the same day installation to show the difference. Well, do you know what? That was actually really good as well. I like the fact that you showed that. One thing I will say is your car is an early 2003 model. At some point during 2003, they switched from the bulbs in the instrument cluster, so those little tiny bulbs, I can't remember what name they've got, to the solid state LEDs. Now, I suspect that was just down to making the lights look a little bit more modern, but it didn't really aid the user-friendly nature. Now, the truth is, these bulbs, and these LEDs, they last a long time. So by the time that the warranty was way up, and probably, the car would probably be about 10 years before you have problems with any of the bulbs going. I've only known one of my bulbs to go, and that's it in my cluster. And the LED one, very rarely does someone say they've blown, but when they do blow, you've got to solder a new LED in, and I'm not sure what LED you're soldering in. So it's always a real bit of a faff, to be honest with you. Um, yes, I'm not too bad, Frank. I am absolutely fine. Old Tadaska, you look okay in the stream. Well, that's good. That's it's an interesting view because I've basically shown you my flat. Yeah, or most of it anyway. So it's interesting. What I could do with really is one of my a channel banner behind me. I'm hoping to get one of those roller banners made with the channel name, so I can actually have a backdrop here. So you're not looking at all my rubbish. Good, good. I'm glad you're fine. Robson Rover Repair, hello, welcome. It's the first time that you've been on the channel, sir. How are you? All right, big man, great content as always. Thank you very much. And I'm really glad you say that because unfortunately, my channel, as much as I'd like it to be a bit more balanced, is kind of dominated by Ford stuff. But I do make it very clear to all my Rover subscribers that Rover is a really special place in my heart. And hence probably the reason I bought the 45 in the first place. There was not many cars in that age that I really wanted to buy, especially as more of a relative daily driver. It's not quite a daily driver, but I'd like to keep it nice. So I don't really want to be using it every day, but it'll be used quite often. And she's been brilliant. Every single day she runs and ticks over, no problems whatsoever. I can't remember. I think I might be confusing with something else. Robson Rover Repair. Have you got a channel of your own, sir? I can't. Do you know what? I'm losing track here because I'm so planted in my own little world of my own channel and what I'm trying to achieve with both my Rover stuff and my Ford stuff that I kind of lose. I'm kind of out the loop with what's going on with other YouTubers. So I do apologise about that. If you do, I'll be trying to watch some of your videos. I'm pretty sure you do. So please forgive me for that one. But I'm always trying to find new Rover content. And actually, to be fairly honest here, I mean, I've said this a few times. A third car is on the way, not literally on the way, but it's on the way in terms of my thought process of I know I'm moving towards that direction, um, and it might be a metro. Um, Fingers crossed on that one. It may not pan out that way, but I am definitely looking in that direction. There's not many Rovers that actually now I'd want because I've got the 45. My perception on wanting to own a 75 is out the door. I'd never want to own one, but I'd like to drive one and review one. Um, and then a Rover 25 for me, I think might be one of those disappointments because as someone who now I'm now used to 45s, I'm used to the comfort, and I just think one a 75 is a heavier car that seems to eat its suspension for breakfast, but isn't necessarily any more practical or hasn't got any more extra space inside. And the 45 is a highly practical car, even as a hatchback. Um, but the 25, it's a smaller car, less practical, but it's not going to be as comfortable. And I think it'd be a disappointment compared to that. So I kind of like, I've got a 45 and I've probably got the best of both worlds in that respect. And there's not many Rovers that I would actually float my boat apart from a Metro and an R8. And that's the truth. 600s, I have got a mindset possibly for one, but I think that boat may have sank. I think there's too many things that put me off about the car. Just little things like I was told the other day by Martin. I don't know if you're watching this, Martin, but you told me that the Rover 600 front and rear discs, it's not easy to change them because they're actually behind the hubs. That's an absolute pain. I've done that before on my P6, and it's things like that that really put you off. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like that at the moment. But the Ford stuff is always strong, and I do what I do because I'm trying to build a nice Mark One community, and the group is going very well. The Focus Mark One Preservation Group, and it's a balance, and I like to maintain that balance. And there's a lot more stuff that I'm doing on Beatrix. Tomorrow I'm doing another job on her, which may come out a bit later on from what I would have liked, but there's a lot of stuff coming out for that car. Tedesco, when I got mine, the battery bulb out. Is that on the LED one or the old one that you swapped out? These LEDs, is colours and bulbs are white. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's interesting. I say I don't know what particular type of LEDs that need to be soldered into the cluster, but anybody with a soldering iron can do it. It's just finding the correct LED. Vistaprint for those banners is ideal, mate. Thank you very much for telling me that, because I am actually looking for roller banners, and strangely enough, I actually have an account with Vista. They've got my software for making all my thumbnails, so my YouTube thumbnails, and I think some of the posters and banners that I've done just for the Facebook groups that I've started. So I've got the preservation group, Mark One Preservation Group, and the Rover CVT register, which I set up because I think, quite frankly, there's just no representation for people with CVT MG Rover variants, vehicles, I should say. And that group is going really well. We've got over 100 members, which, considering there's only about 1,200, I think around 1,200 examples with that gearbox left on the road. Obviously, there's ones that are sawn, but not many. That's a really good percentage. It's like just under 10% of what's left. And we know that there's lots of these cars still in what I would say is non-enthusiast hands. So that's going well. So I've got all that stuff going on, and I've got an account with them. So it'd be very easy for me to make some roller banners. I have been doing some quotes here and there. They're not cheap things, depending on how wide and how tall you want them. But I need some sort of backdrop here. I really do. Um, Nick, hello, sir. You are definitely new. Nick, welcome to the channel. You are very new, and yeah, that's absolutely fine. I need to ask. I've got a 2003 Focus Mark 1 and just changed the PCV valve and the hose behind the inlet manifold today. And when I change gear and hold the clutch down, the engine cuts off. Um, okay, so I assume that breather hose is a very big weak point on the 1.6. I'm assuming it's a 1.6. I presume that it had a hole in it and you had a bit of a running issue. The valve doesn't really need replacing, they just need cleaning so they can shake. But if you've done that properly, and I have to ask, is that hose a genuine Ford one? Because if it's an aftermarket one, I'm sorry to say this, but you have to do the job again. The aftermarket ones do not fit very snugly onto the actual inlet manifold. In fact, you need hose clamps to actually secure them, and they should be the genuine ones should be so tight they should literally just slide over. It should take a lot of force to put it over the actual the little connections on the inlet against the block. That could be why that is. But if it's a genuine one and you fitted it perfectly fine, that's not your problem. It's nothing to do with what you've done. Things do happen when you work on cars, and you often think about what have I messed with? What was the last thing I did? And you do sort of self-criticize and analyze what you did, and you think, did I do that right? So I would say if it's a genuine one and it's slid on really nicely and it's on that valve and that valve shakes, that new the valve's good, it shouldn't do that. Here's Ford and Rover shared gearboxes and rust. It's like an American cousin. It is absolutely true. Although I dare say about Rovers, they don't rust as much as Fords, unless it's a Metro. And then again, even the late Rover Metros don't seem to be anywhere near as bad as the Austins. Um, they do. They share the IB5, which is a very good gearbox, and it's just a bit of a political storm, wasn't it? That Rover was in a position where BMW had taken over the gearbox factory in Washwood Heath, where they made the R65s, and BMW were basically trying to sell Rover with their own gearboxes and asking too much. So Rover did the great thing and told them to F off and go to Ford. I mean, it is a bad thing when you go into another mainstream car manufacturer for a gearbox. That is alarm bells. If there wasn't any alarm bells, but it's still a good gearbox, and I don't hear many bad stories about the later Rovers in terms of how the gearbox feels. I think people we've kind of got used to that R65 kind of old school nature, but the IB65, the IB65, the IB5 is a terrific gearbox. 600s are definitely disc on hub, not behind them. I did a set 2 days ago. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting because I was told they're behind the hubs. Oh, maybe I've been told the wrong information then. That's fair enough. You've obviously done it. That's interesting. Oh, well, that's a plus point then. I have been told though they do tend to have a lot of tin worm on the rear arches. There's not many that I've seen. Actually, there was one I saw at the most recent show I went to at the Unnamed Classic Car Show. That Rover 600 was the tidiest one I've ever seen. It's got no rust, and where they sort of start rusting on the bottom of the rear arch where it meets the bottom corner of the door, there was nothing. It was as tidy as hell, and I don't know what it was up for, but it was for sale, and that was a V-Reg one, and it looks great. But I think as someone who's got a 45, I think a 600 would be too similar. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two cars, despite the fact that they are two different cars. You've got, what was a European, well, a Far East, I should say, Honda Domini, and a Honda Civic undercarriage. versus the Honda Accord, which is a slightly different beast, but very similar. Oh, the old Tedesco, the old one. Okay, so the old one had a. To be fair with the old one, you just changed the bulb. I've got plenty of those tiny bulbs around the place, and those LEDs are surface mounted, so like the bulb looking ones. Oh, that make it more simple then. That make it more simple. That's interesting. Nick, right? So it was a genuine Ford hose. Then that's not your problem. You may have disturbed something when doing that. Just make sure basically you've got by all those hoses inside the inlet. You've got the connection that connects to the stepper motor, the idle valve. It's right in front of you. It's literally a big object that's stuck on the inlet manifold. Just make sure that you haven't disturbed any of the wires and it is connected if you've done that, because if it cuts out, it could be that. But it's definitely not something you've done there. It must be something else, because it wouldn't behave like that. It wouldn't make the car cut out, I can assure you. Smoke to Ket, hello. How are you, sir? Nice to see you. Yeah, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well too. I really do. It has been a very long time, sir. What have you been up to recently? I hope you've been keeping well and you've been not mucking about. I know you haven't been, but I'm just making conversation. Robson, now I'm thinking the 600 I did the brakes on was a 99 620 with the 282 fronts. He's actually right about the other ones needing to be split. So that, yeah. Okay. Too many blurred memories of the cars. Okay, so there was a slight difference then in the front brakes. I didn't know there was two different size fronts, but I'm from what I've been told, they kind of, the hub and the disc don't kind of want to separate, so you often have to replace the hub. So I'm told that is quite off-putting. When simple things like that need to be done, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Hey, DB Sparks, Dave, I am all good. How are you, sir? And I've enjoyed seeing your work in progress. I think we need to do another feature on your Focus, because the amount of work you've been doing since that video is quite unbelievable. If people don't know DB Sparks, I did a feature on his car, which was the Ford Focus Silver, of which he was, well, awaiting a new engine because the engine had obviously basically blown its big end bearings, as they usually do. And Dave has been very busy doing some very neat work around the engine bay, and a lot of paint and a lot of prep work, and basically to the level that I always do with my cars. It's fab to see other people applying that same level of detail to their own cars. And your car, Dave, is going to be better than mine by the time it's finished. I'm probably going to have to go back and redo mine. You're making me feel very conscious that mine is good but could be better. Smirk to Cat, Nick O'Donnell, idle control valve. Yes, exactly as I've said. The idle control valve is right there by where you've been kind of, because you've got to get your hands behind to get the hose out. And often I've found it's easier to disconnect the wire into the valve and just take the two 8mm bolts out, take the valve out, because it's kind of in the way, and you kind of have to get kids to get their hands down. You have to have really small hands to do that job. Otherwise you're scratching yourself all over the place. It's not nice, but once it's done, it's done for a long time. Nick, I did take that out for a bit extra space. Oh, sorry. I literally been talking about that. I didn't even see. So sorry, I was blind there. I didn't see the next comment. There you go. So it justifies what I've just said there. So you took it out. Did you screw it down okay? And was the gasket still in place? There should be a little gasket where the idle valve goes over. I'm just checking that as well, that didn't fall off, because if there's no gasket, that car ain't starting. Hi, Benjamin. Hello, sir. How are you? I think you're new as well. We've had a few new ones recently, and I try and do my live streams about 6 weeks apart, and it's all coincidental because I work in a school, so I only the time I really want to do live streams are within the half terms. So I've got this week to I set it in my head that I've got to do a ton of things, work, lots of videos, and a live stream in the middle of it. Hence why I'm doing it on a Wednesday. So I've got to take advantage. So it's always about 6 or 7 weeks apart before I do the next live stream. Tadaska, I don't know. I don't feel anything for Rovers because I'm not British, but for some reason I miss the Cougar. That's a Ford, Tadaska. I think I might have got that confused or wrong. I, I think you were mentioning two different things at once there. Um, the Cougar's a really good car, very underrated. It was supposed to be Ford's replacement for the Capri, but it never quite worked out like that. They've tried to replace the Capri a few times, and the Cougar is more of a cruiser, whereas the Puma was a sort of punchy town car. The Cougar was kind of a cruiser, but it wasn't quite a good enough one. I'm not quite sure what sort of market they were trying to hit there, but they didn't succeed with that car, which is why it flunked. Um, no, I can understand that. Rovers tend to be a British thing, but Rovers were sold abroad. But I suspect that you didn't get Rovers in Lithuania, because I know that there are many Rovers that were exported to France, to Italy, Portugal, Switzerland, Sweden. I'm not sure about all the other. Oh, Germany, sorry. So we're talking about quite a bit in Europe as well, but they weren't exactly popular and they're very rare. In fact, the other day I actually saw a Rover 45 Mark II in Tempest Grey, which is a very good colour for a late Mark II, um, in France. It was definitely a French registration plate, and it was immaculate because I think it's a southern France. So the climate was so warm. There's no rust. There's no paintwork defects or anything. Absolutely tidy as anything. And it was one of those popping out eye moments because you, how many survivors there are abroad, I don't know. Um, there is a very nice man from Portugal who has a Rover R8 416 with a CVT gearbox, who I've spoken to, and he may be watching this. And if you are watching this, hello, sir. And I haven't forgotten, it's been ages since I've spoken to you. And here's one of the few people that kind of convinced me that we need a specialist CVT register for those MG Rover products. And they're all over the place, but they're in very minute numbers, um, makes them more interesting. But if, say, Ford is just Ford of Europe, and it's a stronger brand everywhere, and everyone can relate to them. I'm assuming in Lithuania, Tadas, that Ford are probably the strongest brand of car. Um, just out of curiosity. Um, Drew Dastardly, who, hello, sir. It's been a while since I've heard from you. I tell you what, you're everywhere. I've literally, I think I was watching one of Alan Howitt's live streams, and I love that fella. I have never met him, but I'm going to meet him at a Ford show. Hopefully, when they have a show down TC Harrison, I think it's every September. And I think you were on the live stream as well. So I was about to jump in and say hello to you on the live stream, but I didn't want to spam his live stream. Focus Mark 1 had IB5 for all petrols up to 1.8, and the MTX for the 2 litre. Bang on. I have to admit, I was caught out by the reverse lockout when I bought mine. Oh, yes. Yes. That's a bit of a characterable thing, isn't it? The one Focus Mark 1 that I tell people to be exceptionally aware of is any 1.8 litre petrol, because for some reason they decided that the old school MTX 75, which very old school and very much robust, as a gearbox can take a much more higher level of torque than the IB5, which was designed to be a much more smaller gearbox for smaller, less torquey applications. Excuse me. And for some reason, some clever dick at Ford decided that despite the 1.8 and the 2 litre being the same engine, that they'd only stick the MTX 75 on the 2 litre and the 1.8 would get the IB5. And there's a lot of stories on the forums. You only have to look on the forums and the Facebook groups for people who've basically knackered the gearboxes because the engine is kind of pushing the gearbox to the end of its tether. And with the 1.8, I think it's quite a sweet spot. It's a shame because I think the 2 litre is just thirsty. Even in manual form, it's just too thirsty. And the 1.6 is a good all-rounder, but sometimes from the Sigma, you want a bit more poke. That 100 brake horsepower from the Sigma is okay, but it just needs a bit more poke. What would be brilliant, and I'm sure someone may have done this before, is stuck the later 125 brake horsepower TIVCT 1.6 from a Mark III straight, or from a late Mark II straight in a Mark 1. That'll be a perfect car because then you've got more power than the 1.8 in that, guys. But that'll be a lot of work, ECUs and everything. But I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they did that at all. But it's a shame because the 1.8 is like the balance between a bit more power than the Sigma, but not the thirstiness of a 2 litre. And they ruined it by putting the wrong gearbox on it. And I really think that if anyone is of sound, if you want to keep a 1.8 and you're not really bothered about originality, and you've got a slightly knackered IB5 in your car, I would throw that away and put an MTX 75 in and convert it, because then you've got a fabulous car. No problems. You will have no problems with that car. Tadas, I meant probably because I am typing rubbish today. Don't worry about that. I'm probably talking rubbish today, as I usually waffle on. Your English is really good. As I said to you before, I only speak German as a second language, but my German is quite limited also. And it's not as good as your English. So I have to give you credit there. I think I speak on behalf of every single English person going. We don't feel the need to speak another language because it is kind of in the outer world, as I should call it, in the nicest, kindest terms. People feel that, but they need to learn English. If you want to have any sort of success, or you want to find work, or come to England for work, or whatever, or work in a country that speaks English, you've got to learn English, and that is the key to having a little bit more success. I don't utterly believe that, but because everybody speaks English, us English, we don't feel the need to speak another language, and that kind of is the culture that we have in England. It is Little England, and I don't feel good about that. I think it's not a great thing. I'll put it that way. Tadas, sadly, I don't have the place or skills to do perfect detailing or for car or painting. Neither do I. I don't touch paintwork, but you can detail a car. I mean, all you have to do is watch some of my Rover 45 videos. I know look, the skills that I show you on the 45, I know there's a lot of Ford people who are not interested in what I do with the 45, but a lot of the skills that I show people, for instance, the wet sanding in particular, it can be applied to every single car. Once you've learned that skill, it doesn't matter what car it is, it's a universal skill. And detailing in that manner is really a good skill to have. Paintwork, I can't do paintwork unless it's, on mechanical components underneath. If it's the actual body, no. Unless it's the underside of the body, no. I don't touch it. It's just whatever I do is not good enough, and I leave that to a trusted person of mine. Robson, Mark 1 Focus seemed to have absolutely disappeared. I do wonder, was it the popularity of taking the older 1.4, 1.6 CVH and making them into the 2 litre CVH 8 valve, etc. My 1.8 Mark 1 was brilliant. I'm a bit confused by that. Do you mean the Sigma? Because the 1.4 and 1.6 is the Sigma engine in the Mark 1. The CVH was the engine that the Sigma replaced. It was a decent engine, but just a bit coarse and obviously a bit prone to blowing through its oil rings every so often. Um, the Zetec engine was a replacement for the big Pinto, and the CVH Kent engine was replaced by the Sigma, or in one fell swoop. Um, they are good cars, and the 1.8 petrol is the sweet spot in the range. I really would recommend one. Um, yeah, I was going to say actually as well. They have literally disappeared. Where I am in the Midlands, I rarely see one these days. I used commuting to work. I'd see two each day, guaranteed. Now, in the last 6 months, I barely see one, and it is down to a number of factors, including age. I'm hoping, and this is something that's going to be coming up in a very and in an episode very soon. Is I'm going to be I will have the data soon from the DFT, because they update their statistics tables for how many are left. That great website, How Many Left, it's not a great website for Focus Mark 1s. There's no differentiation between Mark 1 and Mark 2. It's a great site if you've got a Rover, if you've got a Rover 45 or whatever. That it's a much better site for that, but the information is a little bit less accurate. So I go to the DFT, which is where the guy who runs the How Many Left website goes off. So that is coming out soon, and I should be quite interested to see where the numbers are, because I do anticipate again a massive drop, which is a shame. But at the same time, I'm actually not complaining, because mine becomes rarer by the day. And I suppose a lot of Mark 1 enthusiasts who've got a really nice example are kind of thinking the same thing. And the same for Rover 45, sadly. The Mark 2 versions are exceptionally rare. I think I did a specific video on how many of them were left. And there aren't many at all. And their numbers are going to completely plummet. I hope that what I've done with my Mark 2 has influenced some people and convinced people that the Mark 2 is a much better car than what the forums and the gossip boys on the Facebook groups tend to say. And I say the gossip groups because I often find that what people say and what is reality are two different things with that car. Usually it's people that have never actually owned one. And the same for the CVT boxes. A lot of people give them a lot of stick. Some of them were badly manufactured by ZF. They were not made well. And early failures resulted, and the gearbox got a bad rep early on. But the ones that exist today, like mine, cross fingers, are good examples. It's done 51k miles and it works perfectly fine. It just needs an oil change. But I think, and this is controversial, because I was speaking to Paul the Rover Man just casually over one of his YouTube videos, and I kind of made the comment that Project Drive cars are overrated, because everybody, with particularly 45s and 25s and 75s, everybody gets a bit hypnotized by the early Project Drive cars. Yes, they've got nice little touches to them that give them that feel of quality and class. And as my latest, as some people tend to have interpreted my latest Rover 45 Mark II, how bad is it video, as a complete moan about the car, when they need to do a bit more research and actually see what I've done to my own. I try to make that a balanced argument between pros and cons. I don't like it when people kind of look at a car review and go on about what's good about the car and don't really label the cons. I wanted to highlight what I think I don't like about my own car, and then I highlight all the good things. And it does seem to have caught the attention of quite a few people. But really, honestly, people get hypnotized, I think, by the Project Drive examples. I know people want them, they're desirable. And I can understand that. But why, while people are getting a kind of hypnotized towards the early ones, they're dismissing the later ones. And as a result, what we're going to have in about 5-10 years, Rob, is, I presume that's your first name, Rob. Was it Robson? If that's your surname, I'll just go on first name basis. people to the point where in 10 years' time, I don't think there's going to be many late ones left. I think if you talk about Mark Twos, there's going to be like a select batch of about 100 of them. That's it, about 100, no more than that. But there'll be tons of earlier ones because that's what people feel that they need to grab hold of before they go out of fashion. And I think that's a shame because there's nothing wrong with these late ones. There's nothing wrong with the Mark 1 2003, 2004 cars. My argument is with the late Mark ones is that they're the worst ones to own. If you want a 45 that was pretty much at the bottom of what it could have in terms of toys and Project Drive digging its heels in, a late 2003, early 2004 pre-Mark II car is kind of like the worst. And they're going to also die out like anything. I think the S3 Impression is kind of a good example of that, where they just didn't have much in the way of anything. It's sad. That's my controversial opinion, and sadly, it kind of works like that. Sorry, I've rabbited on. Tedesca, MTX 75 gearbox was for diesels and 2-litre Z-Techs. Yeah, it was for the diesel as well. I'm forgetting the diesels. Thank you, Tadas, for telling me that, actually. The diesels need a more robust gearbox, and clearly because the diesels produce stupid amounts of torque. So, yeah, you'd need it for that. I wouldn't fancy an IB5 struggling with a TDDI or TDCI. Nick, tightly snugged up and the gasket was still there. And it's plugged in. Did that valve need cleaning? Did you have a look at the valve since you took it off? Did you have a look inside to see if it needed a bit of cleaning? Because they do get gummed up a little bit. I just want to rule that out for a start. But if that is clean, you've put it back on, connected it up, I can't think of anything else that you've done wrong there. There's clearly something else that has happened, a bit of bad luck, basically, on the day that you've decided to do this. Tadas, my Cougar was not comfortable. It's not a cruiser. Back starts to hurt after a few hours. Interesting that you say it's not a cruiser, because that's kind of how it was aimed at. But clearly that's one of the main reasons why they just didn't succeed. That's interesting. Is that down to the seats by any chance? Robson, Cougar needed the ST200 version of the 2.5, and they could have offered factory supercharger options. The 2.5 170 brake horsepower-ish version alone wasn't enough. Got you. So it's too small an engine. I presume it's because they wanted to try and sell it in America as well, North America. Unless I'm confusing that with the Ford Probe, because they kind of are linked in a slight way. It's a good engine, that is, the 2.5. Really good engine. And the ST200. They're as rare as hen's teeth. I don't know what happened to the Drive Tribe one, because from what I've been told, the Drive Tribe one went for a restoration, apparently at a very well-known Ford restoration place, and they did such a bad bodge job on it. Basically, they got a bad bit of backlash, because apparently they did a complete restoration job apparently on the car, and then within a few minutes of the car being ranked on a strip to see how fast it could go, it was burning oil through the piston rings. Not good on that company, apparently. Tadas, mine was only a 2-litre, so the meh version, and I had LPG in it. Yeah, very meh. The LPG, is that quite a popular thing in Lithuania, to have the LPG thing? Because I know Swedish cars tend to have it quite a lot on the 1.6 Sigma. It's good looking, but just really slow. I wouldn't imagine a 2-litre with an LPG being very good in a Cougar. in Lithuania, cars for a long time, German-made ones, Fords. Yeah, there is them, but people don't like them because of the rust. So it is German related. So you talking Mercs and Audis and VWs then. I see. Um, Drew, the 1.8 diesels had the MTX 75 too. Yep, absolutely. Was the 2 litre 8 valve sold in Europe? I thought it was a weird American thing. Yes, it was. Oh, sorry. Right, Robson, I'm so sorry. I know what you were referring to now. Yeah, the 2 litre version on the North American models is basically a slightly uprated version of a CVH in some respects. I can't remember the exact name of it and what they called it in the Focus, but it is basically an 8 valve version of the CVH, and that's how long the CVH kicked on for. It was the last variant of the CVH to exist up to 2004 in North America. Why they did not give the Sigma or the Zetec engines in the North American models, I do not know. Bad idea that was. Sorry. No, they took the Escort CVH engines and mated it to the 1.82 litre bottom end, making a 1.2 litre 8 valve. Popular upgrade with the Mark III, Mark IV, and early Mark V Escorts pre-Zetec engines. Yes, I have heard of such things. I have heard of such things. I presume that I didn't realise they actually had the he had the 1.8 CVH engine. That was a fitment on the Sierra Sapphire, the big Sierras anyway. I didn't actually know some of that. That's interesting. Mated it to the bottom end of. It's interesting. I'm just about starting to get into Mark III and Mark IV Fiestas. Sorry, Escorts, you're saying. Sorry, I thought you were referring to Fiestas then. Yeah, I can imagine that being popular pre-Zetec engines. I tell you what, when Ford brought out the Zetec engines in '92 across the range, Fiesta Escort, they must have lived in dreamland compared with what was offered before. It really took the company forwards, and 1992 was kind of the start with those engines of the company just going on to where they basically ended up with the Mark 1 Focus. You compare a 9975 to a 2003 75. When it went really bad about Project Drive, you can hear and feel the difference. 25s and 45s didn't suffer anywhere near as bad. That is quite interesting. The truth is, I'm not in a position to argue with that. I mean, obviously, you know way more than I do, and I'd probably say the same thing. 25s and 45s, there's not as much information on them as to what Project Drive took away. On the 75, you've got on the forums, you've got lists of all the stuff and the dates where they got taken out. I can imagine a very early 75 being exceptionally high quality. That it had to be. It was literally the survival of the company depended on that car, and they had to make a go of it. In 4 years, they'd pretty much gone downhill. I know for the 45, I'm going to get quite geeky with this. I might do a video on this actually. Plastic arch liner that covers the filler pipes on the passenger side, the near side, they were deleted around 2003. The underbonnet insulation material, which I don't have on mine, they got rid of that around 2003 for the hatchback models. But after 2003, I think it was October time, or it might have been 2002 October time, they did this. The only cars to get underbonnet insulation, sound insulation, the sound deafening, was the saloon version, which is why you'll see them on saloon versions, but the hatchback versions just have a bonnet, which is does make a difference. The sound deafening, the doors they got rid of, little things like that. The rear anti-roll bar, I don't have one on my 45, and I think they deleted that around late 2003. Not a lot of people know about that either, unless you get underneath and have a look and just notice. I just noticed it wasn't there when I bought Beatrix, and I thought there should be an anti-roll bar here. And then I did a bit of digging and found out no, it wasn't. Just little things like that. The seats changed around 2002 from the 75 seats to what basically is in my car. Not as nice. And there's more stuff. There's more stuff that I haven't even thought about. Things like deleting power steering labels. Oh, I'll tell you something. The show I went to a few days ago at the unnamed Classic Car Club, though I'm pretty sure it was the gentleman who owned the Rover Streetwise. He has got a load of labels, apparently correct labels that he sells on to people. And I opened the bonnet of Beatrix. I left it open the whole day because I was kind of confident nobody would kind of nick something. You're a bit wary at shows of people nicking you a label or something. And I got back to the car at the end of the day and found out that that gentleman had left me a power steering label. And the power steering label you didn't get in a Mark II. They deleted that way before, but actually I quite like it, and it's a free gift, and someone really nicely gave me that. So whoever that gentleman is, I'm going to bump into him and say thank you properly, because I don't know if he watches me. But those are the only little things that I've kind of picked up on and noticed. So I'll have to ask you then. What's the main thing? What's the biggest thing on a 75 that you'd miss from a 99 to a 2003 example? Just put point of interest on that one. If anybody can add any information, if anyone who's into Rovers can add any more information into what the Rover 25 and Rover 45 lost during the Project Drive years, please tell me. I know that the ignition bell, the illuminated ignition bell, which everyone loves and it's a great touch, it went missing around 2002. I might be wrong about that one. Tadas, the seats on the Cougar was bucket ones. You sit deep down. Oh, no. I don't like bucket seats. I mean, they're great on a racetrack, but not for everyday driving. Ugh. I know someone at work who's got a Cougar and he's had it from brand new on an X-Reg, and I told him, are you going to continue driving that every day to work? Because that's a nice car, that is. You should keep that nice. And he agreed with me, and about a week later he bought a second car, something completely different, a bit more new, and he said he's got the Cougar in the garage. Good advice I gave him there, because they're not rare. They're not common now. They're not rare, but they're not common. To be honest, I've never seen a Cougar apart from his in the flesh, apart from that show. Cougar seats, Robson. Cougar seats reminded me of Porsche tombstones, if that makes sense. Oh dear me. Oh no, that's crackers. I know what you mean by that. Nick, I wonder if it's fuel starvation and the valve has had bits of carbon in it and was all gunged up when the car's done 194,000 miles. That's a lot for 1.6. That is well done on that. I'll tell you, that's been well serviced. The car's been through my family for over 20 years. Wow. Okay. This is one looked after car. Yeah, right. Get that valve back off and clean it. Carb cleaner or contact cleaner. Just clean it out, squirt a load of carb cleaner on, turn it upside down, let it drip out, let all the crap drip out, and then see what happens then when you bolt it back up. Just for starters, but it shouldn't be cutting out. It does sound like some silly issue. Could be a battery or earth issue. Could be something as stupid as that. Just check that out. Did you mess about with the battery when you did this by any chance? Just again, I'm ruling another thing out, Nick. Okay. Just want to make sure that the basics are covered. It's something that a lot of people don't think about. Smirk the Cat. The Cougar was sold in North America as the Mercury Cougar. That's right. The Mercur. No, it's not the Mercur. The Mercur. Oh, that's another car, isn't it? I'm referring to another car there. That is right. Taras, LPG was really popular. People was crazy to install every petrol engine. LPG, will tell you what, LPG never really took off in this country. As far as I'm concerned about Mark Ones in the UK, it was only ever option. It was only ever a factory fitted option on the 1.8 petrol models from around 2001 onwards for about 2003. And I can look it up now. There's only about 25 of them left on the roads with a factory LPG conversion, i.e., the LPG tank is where the spare wheel would go. So unfortunately, those cars do not have a spare wheel because that's where the LPG tank is. I would love to see one in the flesh, but I've got a feeling it won't happen because I suspect the people that have got them don't realise they've got one, and that is sad. There's only a few LPG stations that I'm aware about in Birmingham as a large area. It's the second city of the UK, and I only know about three, and that says everything about LPG. It's sad because they really work in higher applications, and I think it was a weird option to offer it on the 1.8, but it's a very rare variant, and it's just I I'd buy. You know what? If I saw one and I realised that someone did know what it was, I'd probably buy it for the interest to see whether I could actually viably use LPG. I think, if I remember rightly, LPG is actually now being phased out in the UK. I don't know if it's the same for Europe, which is really sad. Talas, it's basically half the price of petrol and a bit more of the fuel usage. Yeah. It is here as well. It just makes absolute sense. Drew, it's marketing. No Yank would dream of anything less than a 2 litre back in those days, even a shitty one. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was about that, and I just don't understand why they didn't offer the 2 litre Z-Tech. If you understand where I'm coming from with that, I just think the CVH is disappointing, but it is marketing, and I suspect it was just to keep the cost low on everything. And remember, these Z-Tech engines were made in the UK, so it would have been a bit of a problem to export them as well in kits. Whereas I suspect the CVH they'd have had factories over there still making the CVH. So it was a rubbish idea, but interesting. Nick, it starts up fine with no misfires. Just had a new clutch fitted, so I'm stumped. So I had a new clutch fitted. That's interesting. Okay. There's no misfires, then it's not the idle valve. There's something else that's happened there that I can't put my finger on. You'll just have to do a little bit of fault finding and clean some of the connections, but I would start at the battery. Interesting that. I'm a bit stumped on that one, Nick. First name, hello sir, how are you? A new viewer, and welcome to the channel, sir. The MTX 75 is in the 1.8 Duratec, as I have one in my mundane LX. The LX isn't that mundane. Actually, you've got some nice things on the LX. You've got air conditioning and electric windows. Don't get them on a Z-Tech, even though the Z-Tech was more expensive as a specification. Yeah, it's just something to be. Are you referring to a Mark II? Because it's not possible to have an MT. Sorry, I've had to read it again. I thought you meant IB5. You must have a Mark II. No, that's not possible. The MTX 75, they got rid of that on the Mark I. You must be mistaken. Are you in? You are in England, I gather, the UK. I don't mean to dismiss it, but unless that car has had a conversion, it should have had an IB5 from the factory. There's no such thing as an MTX 75 in a 1.8 from the factory. So unless somebody has done what I previously suggested and did a conversion, that can't be right. I don't want to dismiss it because it's your car at the end of the day, but from my information, that's not right. Tadas, imagine this. Even in the back of Cougar was the bucket. Oh my God, bucket seats on the back seats. I didn't know that. I'm Googling it. Excuse me. Just hold the line, everybody. Ford Kuga. Sorry, I'm getting the wrong ones here. No, I'm getting the wrong one. Hold on. Oh, no. I've seen that. I've seen all I need to see there, Tadas. I can't unsee that. I don't know why. Why would you have bucket seats on the back seats? I mean, balmy. Some of the decisions that Ford made. Smoke to Cat. Nick, did you clean the connector after you unplugged it? That's exactly my answer to that as well. I had an intermittent camshaft position sensor error. That way, after I had to unplug it, just cleaning the pins fixed it. Oh, that's interesting. That's a really good bit of advice. Because I usually think camshaft position sensors, even with intermittent faults, it's generally the sensor that's going. That's interesting. Top bit of advice there. Well done. Thank you for that. I should consider that myself. Robson, 75s will be the sound deafening quality for me and the carpets. The carpet changed from real carpet to the nylon cheap stuff. Yeah. I forgot about the carpets. Took it down massively in luxury to feel very cheap. I have to say, I've got to say, buddy, when I was at the stage of stripping the interior, because I had to find out where all those leaks were in the 45, and they all came from similar places. It's now leak free, thank God. But I had to strip the whole carpet out and everything to basically dry it out and clean it up properly. And everybody said, why did you not get a carpet off an early one? You've done the hard bit. And I kind of thought, well, one, I wanted to keep the spend low because there was loads of stuff I was paying for. And even though I don't like it, it is a feature on the late cars to have that rubbish carpet, despite the fact that I would most likely have wanted in probably 5-6 years ago, I would have not hesitated to convert it to an early carpet. But I'm a bit of a stickler for originality, and as crap as those carpets are, it's a feature on a Mark II. So we have to celebrate the crap nature of elements of the later ones, unfortunately. Um, I would agree there, though. The sound deafening and the carpets, they do make a huge difference. And I don't know what Rover were thinking, because the whole exercise, from what I've been told by people who actually worked at Rover and definitely were involved in the Project Drive process, the thinking was they were trying to delete things that they thought the customer wouldn't notice. I think people did. I don't think people couldn't notice things like that. People are not that blind. Maybe today. Maybe today people are a little bit blind. I think people are very fickle when they buy new cars. The new buying public, I'm afraid, I do tend to view as fickle. They just want the latest thing without actually studying about the quality and comparing it with what's gone before. But we're talking 23 years ago when people were a bit more keener about their cars. And I think the whole culture of how people buy cars is different now. You know, now you order it online. But back 23 years ago, people would physically have to go into the dealership, and more or less people would be bothered about specifications. And the story I told in one of my episodes about a customer with a Rover 45, an early pre-project drive 45 on a W Reg, going into a showroom in 2004 thinking, well, the Mark II's out, the new 45. So he'd go into the showroom wanting to trade his old Mark 145 in, and discovering on inspection and on the spec sheet that the Mark II 45 was worse. So he just kept the old one. And that's where Rover went wrong. When people weren't actually moving from the old car to the new car was worse than the old. That's a big problem. Tadas, nowadays LPG are confined still in almost every fuel station. No, that's brilliant. You obviously have the infrastructure there. That is good. I hope that they keep that then, because LPG is very much needed. The only thing with LPG conversions is they do tend to run a bit hot. The cooling system really has to be well kept on any petrol engine with an LPG conversion, because they do burn a bit hotter, just naturally. Nick, no, I didn't touch the battery when I did it. That's really weird. So you definitely didn't do this before you did the job. I'm a bit stumped, but something's happened. Something's not quite right. Something may have given up around the point where you did this job. So clearly it's nothing to do with what you've done. So you're going to have to do a little bit of fault finding there and get the torch out. Anything that looks dirty or obvious, I would clean up. Connections, earth points, and go from there. It really is my number one easy fix, earths and connections. Drew, the Americans had the 2 litre and the 2 litre Zetec. Did they have the 2 litre Zetec? I didn't think they had. I thought it was just the 2 litre SOHC CBH, inverted commas. First name, Mondeo. It's different from Mondeo's. I'm referring to the Focus. It's clearly, so that's interesting. So you've got, so what mark is it? Is it a Mark II or Mark III Mondeo? Because why would Ford put the MTX on a 1.8 Zetec in the Mondeo, but the 1.8 Zetec in a Focus will just have to give it the IB5? What logic is that? Wouldn't it have been better to just keep the two sets together to aid the cost of basically putting them together? Weird. That's very strange indeed. Rob, have you looked at, Nick, have you looked at your fuel filter? I found loads non-E10 quality standard ones for a year or so. They're not E-marked ones. Be a quick fix to check. That is very true. If they're not an E-marked one, they can fail quite easily. I do get a quality filter with an E mark on it. They should be E10 compatible, but again, fuel filters is something that I look at a lot of the time. To be honest, both my cars, I run it more on both of them, the Focus and the 45, on E5 all the time. In fact, Beatrix, it's actually an encouragement for me to keep doing this, but Beatrix was taken off the road before E10 became available. So that car has never ran a drop on E10, and I don't intend to change that, because there are some rubber hoses where you've got the return and the to the tank and from the tank hoses, rubber hoses, right near the tank. And the rest of it is hard lines, but I'm kind of wary about them perforating because of E10. E5 has very little ethanol in it, so less damage. Funny fact about the LPG: people install them on the Prius. What? And they offer to install LPG to diesel. No idea how that works. Neither have I. The idea of a diesel is economy. Putting LPG to diesel is solving a problem that doesn't exist in the first place. I don't know why you would. And putting LPG on a Prius, I've never heard of that. That's stupid. Rob, LPG to diesel, very popular here in Northern Ireland during the late noughties and early 2010s. Gives about extra 40% better burn even after LPG and diesel. Combined costs saves around 25% again on running costs. I've never... as I say, as I've just said, Rob, I can't understand what, I mean, clearly there must be some extra benefit, like you said. But obviously there's some science there that I'm not aware about an extra burn. But to me, diesel's all about economy, and putting an LPG to diesel is just, as again, it's solving an issue that doesn't exist. But maybe because it burns better, you get the fuel economy benefits on there as well. it's something that I'm not really aware of. I'm only familiar with LPG on petrols. Um, but that was on early common rail diesels. Since we passed the VW Group PD era, that everything does 60 mpg without trying. It's different. Different in terms of what benefits LPG could have. Is that what you mean by that? Or the fact that they just won't work with the electronics and everything? Could be a bit of both. But that was running diesel engine on diesel with LPG. Um, going with LPG also going into it at once, not LPG only. Oh, I see. So you're using not the LPG only, but both of them at the same time. That's interesting because on an LPG conversion is basically that it is a separate tank to what you'd normally have. So, you know, in a petrol 1.8 Focus LPG, you would have the normal fuel system and then running in tandem alongside it the LPG system. In the flick of a switch, you just switch between the two, but you can't have both. Interesting. Something that I'm just not I'm not aware about. I should do a bit more research on that. First name, sorry, I meant Mark III Mondeo. Ah, interesting. So a bit nerdy. I've owned a later 75 Tourer a few years ago and an earlier one. They got rid of the boot release button on the later one. Yes, yes. Is that the boot release button on the dashboard, by the way? They did all sorts of stupid things. That's not geeky, that's interesting. That's what I like to hear on this channel. I'm a bit geeky myself. On the late Mark II versions of the 25 and 45, they definitely got rid of the boot lock on the back boot. So on a 45, you've got two options. You use the button on the key fob, the Pectron key fob, or you've got the cable where you just pull it up by the fuel flap cable just on the floor. But apparently on the 25, you don't even have a remote release, apparently. I'm assuming you don't have a remote release. Some do, some don't. And you've got just the cable. That's it. So if you have boot problems, you struggling, which is a bit of a pain. I don't know what they did on the 75, but presumably that was just the only thing they did with the. They just got rid of the button. Yes, first name. They moved it to activate using the key, but they still had emergency release in the boot. Is that where you have to get into the boot and to press the latch to open it up? Because I've done that on the 45. Whether that is kind of what would be the emergency, or was the emergency release something different? Right, excuse me a second. I am just going to shut my curtains and turn the light on because it's getting very, very dark in here. And I need a drink because my mouth is very dry. Excuse me. Oh, Right. Oh, yeah, well, forgetting to have a drink is one thing. Excuse me a second. Right. Excuse me. Okay. Right, Nick. To be honest, I think it's got its original fuel filter and looked under the fuel line, which connects. So, do you know what? I've just thought of one thing. I have watched your videos. Robson. I have watched them, and they are really good. I've only watched a few because, like I say, getting on top of my own stuff, let alone watching other YouTube channels, is becoming more and more challenging as the day goes on. So do forgive me, but I'm going to go through some of your videos, and I'm definitely going to start watching some of your stuff as well. Because I need to, I think I need a day where I don't do anything apart from watch other YouTube channels, just to have a bit of a catch up in to sync to what other people are doing instead of being in my own tunnel vision box. I think you can relate to what I'm going to say when I say it's very easy for a YouTuber to get stuck in their own tunnel vision and not see the bigger picture. Um, to be honest, I think it's got its original fuel filter and looked under the fuel line which connects to the filter, and it has some sort of kink. That is not good. No, the reinforced fuel line can kink. It's the one that goes over the tank, I suspect. It may need replacing, but it's a bit of a faffy job because the tank has got to be dropped in order to get that fuel line off. Basically, that is what takes the fuel from the tank to the filter and then through the filter to the hard line. If it's the original fuel filter, Nick, that needs changing because 194, they're supposed to be changed every 35. So you've got to change it. That will not do your car any favors. It is a faff because you've got to jack up the car, put some axle stands under it, or at least keep the wheel on so at least it doesn't fall on you, it falls on the wheel. You'll need a pick, some really good fingers to push the clips off the fuel filter. It's something that I'll do to my own car in good time, as a matter of course, because I think it's important to change such an item. But it's one of them. I would definitely change it though. That will not help your running, and it could be a good cause of that. A Brown, 5 Brown. Hello, sir. Hello to you. Another new person on the live stream. Welcome. All Mark 1 Mondeos had the MTX 75 box. It was developed specifically for that car. Now, am I right in thinking the MTX 75 came out around 92? Because I'm sure it came out before the Mondeo, but maybe I'm wrong there. And obviously you know more than I do on that. I don't know a great deal about Mark 1 Mondeos. It's something that hasn't quite floated my boat so far. But to be fair, I quite like Mark 1 Mondeos compared to the Mark 2 in terms of appearance. I think there's something really... I can't put a thumb on it. But back to basics is another word, but there's another word, I can't think of it. It will come to my head in a second. But it was designed specifically for the 2-litre Zetec engines, from what I can gather, because the MTX 75, as far as I know, was never fitted to a CVH engine, unless I'm wrong about that as well. It's quite possible it might have been fitted to a CVH because they were still around in 1.8 and 1.6 form quite a bit. Taras, the LPG and price taxi to save money. Oh yeah, I can imagine that actually. Yes. Don't get me started on price taxis, they're everywhere. Drew, the Yanks did the Mark 1 Focus Zetec 2-litre 16 valves. It was marketed as the ZX3. Thank you very much. That is something that I'm actually currently looking into. I want to know more about the North American Focuses because it is a weird thing. So it was available then. I didn't know that. Most of the other boring Yank tanks were the SOH and awful sedans. I don't like the saloon version of the Focus. The sedan version doesn't suit it, to be honest. I think the Mark II saloon was more better looking. In fact, they almost copied the Mondeo Mark III backlights on them. They're very similar. In fact, I used to confuse Mondeo Mark IIIs and Mark II Focus saloons at some point because they actually had the similar backlights and they look very similar. I remember XZ3s from Fast Forward magazine back in the day was what all the big spec show cars were built on, the pre-ST170. Yeah, exactly. Perfectly put, actually. It was all the rage before the ST170, and Ford knew that they needed to get some Fast Forward with a big pedigree out there again. Here's one for you. Did they sell the Mark 1 Focus 1.4 Zetec outside of Northern Ireland Irish market? Was it the GB market also? Yeah, it was. Yeah, they sold them in the Great Britain market, and they sold them in Europe. There are 1.4 versions of the Zetec Focus, 1.4 Sigma engine, and a Mark 1 abroad, in Europe, I should say. I keep saying abroad, it's really bad of me. Sorry, guys in Europe, I do apologise. It's quite belittling, actually, when I say that. It's like we're an island, you guys are abroad. It's Sorry about that, truly. Well, technically, we're abroad to you, so hey. It wasn't a very popular engine, I will put it that way. The 1.4 Sigma is okay in the Focus because it's a light enough car, but it doesn't really. It's kind of at the limit of what it can produce in terms of getting around. You do have to work it through that 5-speed IB5 quite a bit to get anything out of it. Tadas, just a tip for you if you want Ford Goldmine. The Ford Technical Information System Online, it runs only on Wins XP or virtual machine, but you have everything. I will look into that, actually. It's the Piracy Edition. Don't worry about that. I think we've got quite a few over here. We've got we've got something else over here. I can't remember what it's called now, actually, but it's very similar. But I will have a look into that nevertheless. All the wiring diagrams, everything how to remove, just no parts numbers, everything written by Ford. The downside, it's easy to find only 2004, but it's perfect for the Mark 1. Oh, that's interesting to know. That's really good to know. Thank you for saying that, Tadas. I've seen some of the diagrams you've sent me, so I know that you've got good access to that. Smirk the Cat, what's your opinion on the facelifted 2005 US Focus? Just looks. Is that so? It'd be the Mark II, or is this a Mark 1 that was facelifted in the US? Because I know they kept it in the US to 2007. I don't, as I say, I don't know much about them, so I can't really comment about that. But from what I've seen, most of them don't look good at all. Especially the early ones with the sticky out bumpers. The crash safety bumpers don't do any American car any good. Really, honestly, not. First name, I'm in the UK. My mum dairies my daily, and I'm currently restoring a 55 plate Rover MG ZR 105. Very nice indeed. So that would be the 1.4 or 1.6. Not sure which one it would be. It'd be the 1.4, 1.6. I can't remember which K series it would be. It's been off the road since 2018. I've definitely noticed how poorly made it is compared to the early 200s and 25s. The quality isn't great. A 55 plate would be a very late registered one. No doubt the administrators may have put that car together. They're quite sought after, the very late ones. I don't know why, but they seem to be. And because it's the MGZR version, it's a bit more desirable. That's a long time for it to be off the road, so really good luck to that. They're cracking cars when they work really well. So that is interesting. Stay in touch with that and let us know how you get on with that. But I honestly think that if you just take one problem at a time, one little job at a time, it will come off really nicely. There's not much to worry about in terms of the suspension on a 25, nor 45 for that matter. Drew, Robson Repair. I now remember an American tuner, Turbo Tom, who took the ZX3 to the stratosphere. That's new to me. I wish I heard of anything like that. I didn't know that. Didn't know that at all. So I'm out of touch with the North American stuff. I tend to know more about the European Focus Mark 1s, more or less. Maybe just because I've got more of an interest in them and they don't look as rubbish. But there's some cracking models out there. I mean, someone spoke to me the other day about he's got a street edition um, North American Focus Mark One, and they are very rare. And I've seen them before. There's a Coney edition, and then there's, oh god, there's a name for it. A Sony edition. Was it a Sony edition? There was a few. So while we had our special limited editions, or special edition models, I should say, they weren't limited edition, but they were special edition models for a short time, and they had theirs in North America. Robson, definitely more shaky interior. The irony being the 25ZR has about 35% stiffer body with extra welding and spot welds compared to the 200R3. Only the BRM and 200VI have the same standard of welding. I didn't know that. That's interesting. There's little details like that I wasn't aware about. I'd imagine that would be really helpful, having the extra welding. The 200VI is a very rare car. Matt of Furious Driving was very lucky to get hold of one. But then again, he wasn't, because it just had a bad head gasket and they're not worth anything with their head like that. But he's done well to get it in that shape. But there's an awful lot of work that needs to be done on that car underneath from what I've seen. But there's only about 30 of them. BRMs, nice car. It's not for me. But the orangey bits are a bit, I don't know what they were trying to achieve with the orangey bits. It looks a bit on the chavvy side, but not chavvy, but just a little bit tacky for me. But the leather interior is something to behold. Absolutely, no wonder they're butchered for their red leather interiors. They just look so inviting. Tadas, I heard some Focus had subwoofer factory fitted. That would be on the ST170, for sure. You want to install that in yours, you can find one. If you've got an ST170 in Lithuania that has been broken for spares, 100% you may find one. It was a very popular option in ST170s for a time. Although these days you don't tend to hear much of them, because most of them would have been thrown away and replaced with much better ones, because it was that kind of car where people wanted to spend money on the sound systems as well as the car. Drew, Turbo Tom put a massive Garrett turbo on the 2-litre Zetec and had his own dyno and knew how to program the Ford EEC V5 and tune it. He proved it on the drag strip, not a daily driver. I can imagine not with that. I can imagine not. Reprogramming the Ford EEC5 is quite difficult. So he obviously knows a thing about tech. Robson, the BRM 200 is like when your hot younger auntie wears orange leather trousers, black heels, a corset with 80s perm, rock chick hair, and you become very confused as a teenage boy. That's really good. Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's a confused personality. Completely. Absolutely completely. I would definitely say that. They are confusing. They are absolutely confusing. I seem to have caused quite a stir when I mentioned that the 45 Mark II looks a bit like a blue rinser. It does, honestly. It makes me think of one of them sitcoms from the 60s, 70s. We have reached the end of this. Have I reached the end of this feed? I certainly have. Blimey. That's fantastic. I am probably going to end this live stream here, because I only intended to do an hour, and I've done an hour and a half because of so much engagement. Thank you so much for everybody for these wonderful comments, and quite frankly, it's lovely to have a chat with just like-minded people, and in a very small and down-to-earth way. I'm going to be watching your channel, Mr. Robson Rover Repair, because actually I'm going to do that now because I have got a little bit of time and I've got to start doing things like that. I've kind of limited my YouTube channels down now. I think I had about 25 and I limited it down to about 15 last year. I haven't looked at it since. I've got to limit it to 10 because I'm not watching enough of it and I can't really get round to people. So it generally tends to be within the Rover Ford sort of scene, but there's a few really special ones. Um, there's a few of the big YouTubers that I've actually gone off recently. Not necessarily because of what I'm doing and what I'm kind of because of time limitation, but I think things have gone a bit stale with the bigger YouTubers, and I don't know why that is. I'm not going to name anybody, but basically, I just feel that there's nothing extremely new on the block, and I think this is kind of I think this is the area that you kind of don't want to avoid as a YouTuber, trying to think of different and new things to do. And that's the challenge that I've got. I'm in a situation now where the perception that people are generally having now is Project Beatrix is finished. I've got a Mark 1 which is finished that just is requiring paint, which I can't film because I'm not doing it myself. So the general perception is of my channel is I need a third car, of which I'm looking for one. But financially, I'm hard pressed to get one. But you never know what's around the corner. I might just get offered one. And I was almost offered one the other day. Good lad. Good chat. Great banter. Look forward to more focused stuff. Watch the 6-door Rover limo video as a good starting block. I'm still working on it 2 years later. I'm watching it. I know what you mean. Certain big channels have gone stale. I don't know why. I find that, I mean, I'm not talking about myself because I'd be a bit big-headed to say that, but I do find that the smaller channels, in terms of subs and what videos can be offered, are actually the most entertaining. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're aware of a fella called Mr. Boaty. And Mr. Boaty is a member of the CVT register because he's got a 25 CVT himself. And I think probably the first 25 or the first CVT car to actually go on YouTube properly and be reviewed by the great Paul the Rover Man. And I started watching his stuff when he only had about 65 subs. And I told him that. And I mean, he's got his YouTube channel has exploded. I don't know what he's doing right that I'm not doing right, but I seem to be struggling. But his channel has exploded. And I told him that I'd been basically, when he joined the group, and I said, I've been watching you since you had about 65 subs. And he was like, God, what were you watching me for? It was absolute drivel. And I agree, it was absolute drivel, but I had no idea why I started watching him. It was just, I think he did a video where he was literally just, he bought the 25 CVT and he was looking for through one of the brochures he bought for it. And I don't know how I found his video and why I found that interesting, but I subbed straight away. And I just think it's the weird little YouTubers that are not so well known that I find all these really stupid videos. Sometimes I just don't want to watch another review of a car that has been reviewed about 20 million times by other people, which is why I've not got into reviewing cars, by the way. That is not, I have decided that is not my channel USP. My channel USP is is basically showing people how to work on their cars, not doing car reviews. So I think that's possibly why I've not got the subs, because people don't like watching me ramble on about. It's not entertaining, is it? It's not. People don't consider working on your car very entertaining. So I kind of have to consider it that way. So that's kind of my thought process there. I have to stick to my USP because it's a unique one. I don't know many YouTubers who will show the details of exactly what I'm doing when I'm doing it. Usually, it's very difficult to film sometimes, but when you're working on your car, you just want to get the job done and not worry about the filming and not have to worry about, can my audience see exactly what I'm doing? So that's my USP, and I kind of have to stick to it because that's what's going to kind of continue what I do, and not kind of. You got to think uniquely, haven't you? And you'll know this yourself, won't you, Robbo? I call you Robbo now. I don't know how that's happened. Um, Tadas, you have your own channel with 191 subs, and I can tell you it is kind of difficult to grow. It is difficult. Tadas, don't worry, I've not completely ignored your channel. I am very well aware about your channel. I'm going to be watching some of your videos. So, actually, sorry, I haven't subbed. Consider that 192 subs. I'll sub to your channel straight after this video. Um, People forget that projects are finished and it's nice to do videos enjoying them. Well, that's the thing. I think as a project, and this is where I kind of slightly disagree with that, they're never finished. Projects are never finished. The Focus Mark 1's not finished. Beatrix is not finished. She's got a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and there's about 6 videos that have not gone out yet that I've done, and I'm doing a job tomorrow, so that's number 7. So there's a huge amount of jobs that I want to do, and the reason I want to do these jobs is because I kind of made the conscious decision to keep Beatrix permanently. And when I say permanently, I mean as permanently as my other Mark 1. I consider that the car is just too good to let go. I mean, I did say that in 12 months I'd review the situation and decide whether to move on. Unless something drastic happens in my life or something happens to the car to make me feel disheartened at owning it, I can't foresee selling that car at all because of how nice it is. And I certainly, and you know how low Rover values are, I wouldn't be able to sell that car for less than probably more than 2 grand. I'll be pushing it then, even as a YouTuber car where people know how much I've done. People just don't want to pay for 45s unless it is the golden cherry of a pre-project drive car. The poor Mark II is the unloved car, which is a sad thing. So I've kind of decided to do a load of long-term jobs. Things like brake hoses, that'll be done long-term. The train arm bushes need doing. It's a tricky job without the tool, but I'll buy the tool. I'll buy the Honda Civic tool and push them out in situ. Probably change a couple of the arms at the back. But apart from that, it's like that. I'm about to sub to you, mate. Oh, well, that's 193 subs, Tadas. 193. I haven't have the other channel, not this. Yeah. I'll sub to you. Boaty's channel has exploded. The algorithm, mate. I'm struggling also. Small channels are where you find the random bits of info and the golden nuggets. It's true. And a lot of my videos, you have to look, I look at it this way. Some of my videos they're there now. They're there. It's how to do this and how to do that. Mark 145. They're not going away and they're not fading. And you'll know this from yourself. The videos where you've done a how to do this, your analytics on the side are going to be, you'll see all your episodes and you'll know which ones are being viewed within 48 hours, I think it is. And I still get about 50 views about within a 48-hour period of some of the videos that I've done on both cars from at least 6 months ago. So they're there and they're still going to get views because people are continually going to get these problems. So I think that's where my channel will be better in the long run and won't date. Whereas if you're not doing that sort of stuff, if you're doing reality TV in the moment episodes, once someone has watched it, unless it's extremely funny or memorable, that's it. It won't get watched again. So I kind of see it like that. I certainly haven't hit any algorithms. I don't know why. I'm not hitting algorithms, even though I encourage people to like, and if you don't like my videos, don't watch them then. And clearly people are watching them and enjoy what I do, but the likes don't they don't correspond to that sometimes, but you know, it's like that. First name. I was considering doing a channel for my ZR restoration, but I'm a bit rubbish behind the camera, so I shelved it. Came across your channel a few months ago when you was doing your 45. That's good to know. That's really nice to know. Um, hopefully I've given you some confidence for your ZR, even though it's not a ZR. It's a rubber product, and there's a lot of similar things to the cars, especially the K series. And I hope that gives you a confidence, even though you know if your head gasket is weeping, it can be done by yourself. You can do it yourself. It's that easy. You just need to take your time. I was rubbish behind the camera. And I haven't invested much at all in what I'm doing. I've always said that I wanted to get to 1,000 subs before I invest in maybe a better camera, maybe a third car, and then I can kick from there. But I've not done too badly for a car YouTuber, I should say. Crap Static Studios. It's a boring gaming channel. Don't worry, I'll sub. Crap gaming is the life. It's true. It's been a while since I've been into the gaming stuff. Drew, I like to watch Raymond Ray. Most of his cars are not relevant to the UK, but the dirty work and tips are real. Oh, I'll just type that in and I'll remember that one. Thanks, Drew. That's a good one. Crappy channel. Tadas, crappy channel with a great name. Deary me. If people haven't actually realised this, for the new people, why I decided to call it Usually Fixing and Tinkering, it's basically short for UFT, which is the end of the registration plate of the Focus. I've never named the Focus by a name, so Project Beatrix, I named her straight away because of the registration. I never gave my Focus a name, and I've always referred to it as 50 Shades of Panther Black because some of the panels don't quite match, even though it was all factory. But UFT is sometimes what people refer to me when I cut them up on the motorway, in a rather less ambiguous way. But I thought that would be a good name, considering what I do. Raymond's Ray is the tale of a dealership to overnight success, but down to earth, even though his wife has a channel now. Wife Unit, I think it's called. Oh, I'll see that. I'll have to watch that. How-to videos are a lot less the views of my regular fun views. However, after 6 months, they grow and grow and grow. I've been blacklisted on YouTube and struggle to be found. Have you been blacklisted? Are you saying that as a figure of speech, or have you literally been blacklisted? I'm not quite sure. Don't tell me there's been something against your name. Has someone made a complaint or something? Luckily, I've not had that yet. I was saying for my channel name. Brilliant. So yeah, my USP is something I stick to, but yeah, the fun videos. When I try and do this is a bit of a joke actually. When I've tried to do fun videos in the past, people have interpreted it as actually me being serious. If you go to my channel homepage, there's a video of me doing a short one on Mark 1 boot leaks, and it was meant to be a joke of a video where I pretend that I've got a leak in my car and I show people the reaction that pretty much every Mark 1 owner with a boot leak has gone through emotionally. The look on your face when you see another leak in the boot after yet again trying to seal another gap up every time it rains. And I tried to do a bit of fast forwarding and speeding up. And when I had a few people comment on it, I got the impression that they just thought it was, I actually had a leak. It was a genuine leak. No, it was fake. I just put a bit of water there. But the joke was on me because then the car actually genuinely started leaking in the boot after that video. So sometimes it doesn't pay to have a joke on your own car. So I don't do jokes as much. I'm not a quick-witted person, and people know that. That's not my personality. But and I don't have a lot of stories to tell, because I think the great thing about someone like Mr. Boaty is he has had such a lot. I mean, goodness me, I think the guy is amazing. I haven't met the fella, but He seems to be someone with a lot of stories to tell and who's travelled and done a lot in his life, which is interesting because I didn't think at first glance he was that sort of person. But then again, I shouldn't judge like that. But he has a lot of nice stories to tell. I can't say the same stories. All I can say is I've travelled a little bit in my young years, and I've done a little bit of messing about before my car years. And I would very much like to live in Canada, but I can't afford to. And quite frankly, the visas are dreadful. After a lovely holiday in bloody hell, forgot the name now. See, Toronto. How can I forget the name of the city that I actually went to? Anyway, I recommend Toronto if you can afford the flights. And that was a direct flight. This was 6 years ago. Direct flight from London. Direct flight from London all the way to Toronto. Heathrow, London to Toronto was about 1,500 quid. If I wanted to go the indirect route, I think Ryanair used to do it, where you go from Birmingham to Dublin and then Dublin to Toronto, 1,100. I don't know, I'm rambling on about something completely different now. It happened as someone was targeting my channel. Blacklisting means if you search a hashtag in your video description and you don't show up. So if you type Robson Rover Repair into search, it wasn't. I'm trying to work out what you mean by that. Blacklisting means if you search a hashtag in your video description and you don't show up. Oh, that's really nasty, that is. Luckily, I've not had that issue, but I'm aware that people target small YouTubers. But I'm just, I carry out doing what I'm doing, and at the end of the day, the naysayers can go away. I'll just continue doing what I'm doing, whether I'm blacklisted or not. And you will as well, and you've got a bit of motivation because I'm watching you now, and I will definitely do some shout outs if it helps. Tadas, I think mine is leaking because there is a bit of rust where the spare wheel is, but I don't care. Yeah, there'll be surface rust because that's where the water normally is. There's a drain hole. You can take out the drain plugs, but the car needs a full restoration anyway. Oh gosh. Robson, showing up, notifications were sent and subscribers didn't get notified. Real pain in the hole, only sorted very recently. I'm trying to work out, yeah. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. So I'm going to have to be very, very aware now of that can possibly happen. Ooh. Yeah, I'll be very aware about that one. I do make myself aware on the actual. I think this has turned. Do you know what? We need to have a private conversation about this because it's turning into a YouTuber's bash. No, I'd like to be very honest about to my subscribers that and my viewers and people that watch me about the inner workings of a YouTube channel and the constraints that I'm under, having a full-time job and doing this on the side. I just do it for a bit of fun, and I can honestly say that apart from the ramble videos that I do at this desk, everything that I do out there, I'd have done anyway, but I've filmed it so people can see what I've done and people can learn from it. And that for me is why I feel like I'm still in the mindset of this is a fun channel. I'm just showing people and inviting people into my life of cars. Without being serious, because if we get down the serious manner, then we're kind of pushing the boat down the road a little bit, and that's going to be a difficult one for me to maintain. Keep it fun, keep it small, and that makes it enjoyable. And I've loved meeting so many really nice people. Some people that I will probably never meet. I mean, Tadas, we may never meet. I don't know. We never know what the world is going to be like. But the fact that I can just talk to you like this, that would have never happened before. So, the fact that I think I made a good decision when I decided to turn into a YouTuber. It wasn't an overnight decision. Nobody wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to be a YouTuber. Nobody wakes up and does that. You just put a couple of videos on and then it just goes from there. You've seen how bad that was looking and Rusty magically gone. Yeah, I know. I will Instagram you, mate. Not a problem. Not a problem. We can all meet at the Pride of Longbridge. I did it this year with YouTuber Corner at the end of the show. Right, do you know what? This was the thing, and I really regretted this. I did bump into Paul the Roverman at the Pride of Longbridge. So I briefly bumped into him. I was busy with the camera, so I was crossing paths, which is why I didn't interact with him, and he didn't have me on camera because he did a brilliant take. He did it's all about the community, which is what I'm doing with my Mark 1 stuff. But I'm a small time YouTuber. People don't know me, and I wasn't really in a position to have done something similar. And personally, it was the first show I went to in Beatrix, and I was just so determined to just get my camera out and share what was there for the people that couldn't make it to the show. So I kind of did the generic thing, but I'm really pleased at what he did, and the YouTuber Corner was really good. And I did see you right at the end. I remember watching it actually, but I actually missed a few people. I am also known to Aaron. His name is Sheldon. He specialises in P60s. I've known Aaron since his early P6 days, where he was a very young YouTuber and just getting his foot on the ladder. Now look where he is. Apparently he was there. I didn't bump into him. I didn't even know he was there. And I don't know how this happened, but I actually missed the YouTuber Corner. I was aware that it was there after I'd been because of the YouTube video, but I actually completely missed it. And I can't remember why I missed it. I genuinely just didn't go in that area of Cofton Park because it isn't on my video. It was not in any of my clips, and I was scratching my head as to how I missed it. I know it was in the middle, and it was a big tent. How did I miss it? I don't know how that happened. But next year, I'll be there as another YouTuber, and I hope to be there, possibly with another Rover, or maybe with Beatrix. We never know. Yeah. I know where Lithuania is because of you. 100% Tadas. 100%. In fact, and I've spoken to you more about Lithuania than I've ever known. Quite frankly, I don't know. I really don't know much about the country as it is. Hello, pretty lady. Texting Sheldon right now. Oh, bloody hell. So, you know him as well. You've met him as well. Okay. There was a time where I haven't spoke to him in a few years, but he knew that I was there, and I think he discovered me. I hadn't spoke to him in quite a few years. Since my P6 days, I went into a phase of not being in a great place for 2019. That was not a great year for me on every personal level. Just job problems, breakup of relationships, having to get rid of the P6 as well, which I needed to do at the time. I regret doing it now, but looking back, it wasn't a bad thing or overall. And I had so many problems. And I basically ended up blanking a lot of people in that phase of my life. Not a great time, but I got back out of it. Put it that way. I'm in a good place. Many say that the girls in Lithuania are beautiful. Latvian too. Do you know any? Because I'm single. Well, I live with a Polish girl. Polish girls, I live with one, and enough said about that one, actually. It was an idea I had about lunchtime, and everyone... Sorry, I've got my mouse over it. It was an idea I had about lunchtime, and everyone migrated down to Paul. Paul, man. Nice idea. So it was your idea. Great, lovely. Absolutely great. It is. It is mental health. Yeah, yeah. I've spoken about that before in one of my earliest videos, and it's something that I will talk about again because it's really important to talk about these things, and particularly as you know, 98% of people that watch me and watch you and are basically watching other car channels are men. And there is this thing that men, we have to just put up with it, shut up and get on with it. And we are not all made like that. And some of us just break down. Some of us just go into quiet corners and have a cry. I'm not saying I've done any of that, but these are things that happen and we know it happens, but it happens in a silent manner and it is a silent illness. And cars got me out of that. Cars were my release, my oasis. I think the only thing that got me through that time was the fact that I had a Mark 1 Focus that needed a lot of work, and I just set the task of right, let's ignore all my problems at the moment, and let's focus on this car and get it right. And I did one job after the other, and I put myself in there more than I have ever done so before. In fact, I can't remember putting myself into a car in that manner ever since. And if you think that I got intensive with Beatrix, that was an intensive time, and I think it was what was needed. Believe you me. One thing that's off that sorry, Drew. One thing that puts me off from fully restoring my focus is the fact that insurance companies will only pay out book value, which is a pittance. It is true. Even I'm going to do a little video on this, Drew, because I think this needs a little bit of addressing. Insurance is, it's different for everyone depending on where you live and all your circumstances, blah, blah, blah. But I think now I'm on standard insurance like everyone else with a Ford Focus, and I am going to speak to a couple of the insurance companies, the classic car insurance companies, about a classic car insurance policy for the Mark 1, because I think the time has come now for some agreed value. Standard insurance, it's all done off basically what they value the car as, and it's rubbish. And that's why a lot of people really are put off doing exactly what you've suggested, fully restoring. And my advice is I'm going to go down the route of agreed value insurance, so that I've got photographs agreed in writing that is the full whack. And I don't mind paying more for it, because it's the time has come for the Focus Mark 1 to go into that sort of that bracket now. So I'm going to do something about that, and I'm going to see where it goes, and hopefully other people will follow suit, because it needs to be done. Hastings, Lancaster Insurance, Adrian Flux, all the big ones. I'm hoping to contact every single one of them and get some quotes, and whether they put me on a classic insurance agreed valuation. Taras, lucky you, there were so many Lithuanians moved to the UK for work. So that's exactly in the same respects as Polish in some respects. They look for work. To be fair, if Lithuanians work any just as hard as the Polish that come here for work, we English very lazy, very lazy. Trust me, the biggest thing about Brexit, I don't want to bring politics into it, but the biggest thing about Brexit is that we see all these benefits apparently for Brexit when there just isn't anyone. And if you want to get somebody out to do some plastering, if you want a good Polish plasterer to come around and plaster all your walls and paint and decorate for literally a really good price, next to nothing, and a good quality job, can't get them. They've all gone home because Brexit. So we kind of shot ourselves in our own foot a little bit. Not all of us voted for Brexit, and it's horrible what's happened. And the work ethic is amazing, absolutely amazing. I do you know what? They do the jobs that a lot of people in this country say it's too good. I don't want to be doing that job. I'm too good for that. And the Polish And I suspect Lithuanians will come here and work hard in very long hours, night shifts, doing jobs that, quite frankly, other people pick and choose. And I have to give full credit because we have a shocking attitude to work, and I suspect that's why the UK is falling apart. Uh, Story for another day. Um, there should be women too. Oh, thank you for telling me that. If you know a Lithuanian woman over here, about 30, about my age, around about that, yeah, put her my way. Um, just saying. Um, we could do a combined video, mate. I trained as a psychotherapist and one. Oh, psychotherapist. Oh, good grief. Oh, my goodness me. That's a good profession. And I wanted to do a mental health video for car community. I'm doing more this week. Recovery Trucked is the name. Okay, I'll keep an eye open. I'd be up for doing a combined video, 100%. Yeah, 100%. So let me know more details and fine, and we'll go from there. Insurance, agreed value based on an owner's club value over the book value. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's exactly what I'm thinking of doing. Although I would say the Ford Focus Mark 1 has not got an official owners club. There is a Ford Focus owners club, but I'm hoping that with the group that I've started, it becomes an official club. There are a lot of there's a lot of things involved in running a club, and I'm kind of wary about going down the official club route. It's a big job. It's not for everyone, but I would like a club where they can value members' cars, because I would love to value people's cars. I'd love to go around with a check sheet and valuing Mark 1 cars in for the purposes of an insurance evaluation. I'd love to do that. That would be my dream job. Taras, I was thinking about this insurance too, if I ever fully restore it. Yes, we worked so hard. You do. Full credit, full respect, Taras. Full respect. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe the English have got it too nice. Well, we haven't now because everything's falling apart. Believe you me. Drew, but the agreed value is with your own insurer. My brother had his car wiped out when it was parked by an illegal driver in a van. He's claiming from the third party. That's a tricky one, that is, when something like that happens. We became too soft. People laugh at me doing 60-hour weeks in 2 jobs. Doing a degree and making time for friends, family and holiday. People think a 40-hour week is a big week. I've got to be honest with you, Robson. My week is 36.5 hours. So I'm afraid I'm in that category of I'm putting my feet up. Now the truth is, this is a second job to me now. I have a technically a full-time job just about with 36.5 hours. I like more hours, but you know, I work in education. Unfortunately, it's set 36.5 hours a week. I think I probably do the exact same amount of time on YouTube, and I'm not joking. That's how full-time this channel has become. And this is how much I actually value this channel in my life as it is now. Suffice to say, my life has changed a lot since I started doing this. And it's for the better as well. But 60-hour weeks. You work harder than me. That's all I'm saying. I do apologise that this is slightly blurred on camera. I've actually realised the entire time I think the lens is a bit greasy. That is pretty much YouTube. Oh yeah, it is 100%. 100%. Suffice to say that if I did meet a pretty lady again and started a relationship, that is going to be such a compromise in my life. It's untrue. So hence why I'm single, and I intend to stay single for the moment. Uh, just for the time being, I just need to set myself up on YouTube a bit more before I look at that. We used to come to the UK because we take the job as long days pay good. Here we try to survive €700 per month. Oh, I need to make a series, Poor Life, and show people how we are surviving. If you did that, Taras, I will be watching, because I think that is not much at all. I mean, people moan about the average wage in the UK. You'd be earning double that. You'd be taking home at least 1600 per month. I think in the UK the average wage is around kind of equals to about 1800 a month. I'm on that, right? So I'm considered quite a poor person in the UK, apparently. Um, but we find it hard. But then again, things like, I don't need a second car. You know, it's a luxury. So there are a lot of luxuries that we still have today. But if you made a video about that, I would be very interested. It is YouTuber life, totally. It's full time. Rob, the content you produce is definitely a second job. It is 100%. I'd say you must do 30 hours plus a week, plus the editing in your own time. Well, I'll tell you what, to be fair, I should add this up. Every day I put 3 hours in, at least, and at the weekends it could be more. So, you know, in amongst my own social life, or what, I've got a small social life, but I have a social life. I've got family life as well. So in and amongst all that, I kind of squeeze about 30 hours a week, and I think 30 is probably accurate. Um, the editing I'm hoping to be quicker at, because this laptop is rubbish. It was not designed for video editing, and I'm gonna have to get a bigger one. It just faster. The processor in this is a joke. It's a HP Google Chromebook, and they're just rubbish. This keypad is gone, which is why I've got this Logitech MX Master 2S, which is a wicked mouse, I will tell you. Very expensive. But the keypad, gone. And these letters, they come up. This is just rubbish. It's my only laptop, but it's done me 5 years, but I can't complain. But I don't want to invest in a new laptop until, one, this completely goes on me, and secondly, I start earning from YouTube. I need to start earning. I know it will be pennies, but I just need to start earning before I can justify doing anything. And the quality shows you will be a big channel in time with loyal followers. Do you know what? Thank you for saying that, because I do have, I would like to say there's about a few hundred people who will watch whatever the hell I say. And to all those people watching now, who are watching this, thank you so much for supporting me and what I do, because for someone who does 30 hours a week, pretty much 30 hours, it is a second job, and it's hard to motivate myself sometimes, because the pressure is on to create content, which is why I made sure that about a month ago I made it clear to everyone that I will make a video every 2 days. Every 2 days a video goes out, and that is the expectation. If it's one every 3 days, things have gone a bit slow, but it will be one every 3 days as a minimum, and that takes a lot of doing, and it's a slow process anyway. Pretty lady on YouTube, loads of clicks. Oh, I'll have to click that. Clickbait thumbnails with pretty lady. How many girls are making a fortune in in an oily boob tube, and it's their husband doing the work for them between the days? But That's where I'm going wrong. No clickbaits. I don't do clickbaits because I think it's tacky, and I really blast other YouTubers who do it. It's wrong. Stop doing it. It's tacky, and you don't get a better name for doing it because people get bored of them. I think people have worked out clickbaits no more, basically anymore. I just prefer YouTube channels where it's straightforward and you kind of have an episode where you kind of might have an idea what it's about, but there might be some things, that little twists that you may not have expected. 25% of the population lives below the poor threshold. Ah, my goodness me. I don't know what it's like in the UK. It's obviously less than that, but that's really bad. That's poverty. That's really sad. Did I blow up my Rover 45 20 minutes into video? No, lol. The problem is, buddy, if I started doing them sort of thumbnails, I'm afraid all my lovely people here who are watching me now are going to crucify me into saying that I've wasted 20 minutes of their time and that they don't watch me because of this, and that I've become another YouTuber, and I'm unsubbing. Bye bye. That'll be that. Tadas, yeah, that's why I don't do clickbait thumbnails and I don't get much views. I'm sorry, I'm sticking to my guns with clickbait, despite the fact I think I'll get views. It's wrong, and I've got morals, and I stick to them. I just stick to them. I don't like sending myself out for an extra few views, unfortunately. I'm not that desperate, thank you very much. It's like that, Tadas, at the moment. There's your clickbait, lol. Well, to be honest with you, I could have done a huge amount of clickbaits when I was doing the Project Beatrix videos. I mean, the one episode where I was taking the head off and I rounded one of the bolts. I didn't realise that when I started to round one of the head bolts, that it wouldn't have been game over. It would have just been a case of taking the sump off, dropping the oil rail with that single bolt. Basically, I'd have to cut the head off that bolt at the top and then take the oil rail down with that single bolt still attached to the actual rail. But I was thinking it was game over if that had rounded. So I could have done some really bad clickbait on that one. But strangely enough, I'm actually pretty competent. So there's no disasters that happen. I mean, I could have done one for a few weeks ago when just after the Pride of Longbridge, I had a complete failure of the main fuse where literally the whole car decided not to work. And I could have done something bad then. But you know why I didn't? Because I was so stressed about what has happened to my car. Has a wire broken? See, that's my biggest fear with 45s this age and Rovers this age. Broken wires. It's the biggest thing you panic about because you'll never find it. And it basically, I heard somebody had to write off their 45 V6 because one of the wires to the main ECU loom, basically taking power from the ECU to the coil pack, had broken, but they couldn't find out where the brake was. So the car got scrapped for that. This was 3 years ago when they were worth nothing. They're probably still worth nothing today because people don't know what they are. And it just, I was so stressed. I couldn't think of filming properly. I couldn't think of thumbnails. I'm not a YouTuber like that because I actually really care about my cars. I'm not disconnected from my own cars that I can just think, do you know what, stuff the car, I'll make a lovely video of this and I'll just like put a really big jacking thumbnail saying, oh no, my car's gone, what can I do? I'm not like that. And people know me to be better than that a little bit. It's a good attitude to have, 100%. Can I pick up a Lithuanian pretty lady in my Mark 1 Focus? That's a very, very good question. And what's happened here is we're going to, I think, if you're tuning into this live stream, I meant to end this half an hour ago, but it's quite, well, actually over an hour ago, possibly. It's turned into another Mr. Boaty live stream Mark II, but slightly less pornographic. I've heard that I have noticed that Mr. Boaty has bought another MGF, MGTF. It was MGTF or no MGF freestyle, and he's called it Fanny. Flipping heck! And I asked Paul the Rover Man in one of his latest live streams because I thought I'd jump in there, and I said, "Has Boaty shown you his fanny yet?" I'm gonna get struck off for saying that now. Great road trip video, lol. First name, there is an American YouTuber called Sam Crack, and he does Sam Crack sounds like a good name for a start. And he does clickbait, never finished projects, and the tacky half-dressed big boobs stepmom part. It's awful. What YouTube? What Sam Crack? I'm gonna have to watch this. That sounds amazing. He never finishes projects. Sounds like every YouTuber then. They buy a car, have a big massive thumbnail of this is what car have I bought now, or will it start, or will it get going, or have I bought a cesspit? And then after a few episodes of assessing the car, figuring out if they could do something to the car, and maybe say, yeah, I'm going to do this and this and this. And after a few jobs that go unsuccessfully, they get bored of it, and then they buy another one with problems and do another clickbait on this is my new car, and then go through the same process and then buy another one. And suddenly they've got about 10 project cars of all different makes and varieties in all sorts of different conditions, and they all need work. None of them are roadworthy, and you just think, what a mess. What a mess. And it's not the big YouTubers that necessarily do that. It's the other. It's a variety of YouTubers who tend to do that. And I just think I get a bit bored of that. There's no organisation. There's no focus. I couldn't have a channel that disorganised, because it's not actually about the channel. It's about you and the cars. Forget the channel. I couldn't have let's say 5 project cars, all in various states, and only maybe one of them is roadworthy. I couldn't deal with that. I'd have to offload a few, concentrate on finishing a few, and then getting them to a state where they're roadworthy, then buying one. You know what I mean? I'm in a position now where I'm looking for a third car because I've got a car that is in great condition in a garage, a car outside that is in great condition, roadworthy, and is going to be improved again. And now I'm in a good position to get a third. But then again, I think I'm just too organised. I can't be disorganised. Sam Crack, yes, I've seen his stepmom before in videos. Okay, this sounds interesting. Just a second. This is really bad. This is. I bought a $286,000 Aston Martin V12 and got 90% off. I bought it as scrap. I wonder how many views he's got on that. How to become a mule. Sorry, parts mule. Someone's asked on Google, what does Sam Crack do for a living? He's the face behind the YouTube channel Sam Crack. He makes videos with the salvage and budget car scheme with his mum in the background. That does say what it does say, with his mum in the background. Who writes this? Who writes this rubbish? That's just, what the hell? How do I contact Sam Crack? Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch this fella. He's got my attention. Oh my God. He's on Instagram. Car Throttle are following him. This must be really good. Ah. I think a good idea would be to how to make a trip computer upgrade for Mark 1. That is a good idea. It's not something I wanted to do because I want to keep my Mark 1 original. But I certainly think it's worth going over because what your video taught me a few things. And to be fair, you need a couple of sensors. And to make the trip computer work properly, I think it needs some sort of syncing. I'm not sure how, but I'll look into it. There's people in the Ford Focus groups that can tell you more than I can. Safe search. Abraham 5 out. My E34 M5 was killed by its biodegradable wiring loom. Oh no. It wasn't a well-known problem at the time. Garages couldn't find the fault, so I had to sell it to spares and repairs. That is horrible. That is exactly what I fear about any old car. Just one break in the wiring loom and a stupid place, and you are butchering your car, and it kills cars. I mean, that's not, rust and holes and sills and broken engines. That's nothing because you know what has to be done, but wiring looms, no. Apparently Mark 5 Mondeos are bad for this. Mark 5 Mondeos, Mark 3 and 4 Focuses, and Mark 7 Fiestas towards the end. Sorry, Mark 7 Fiestas towards the end. They are really bad for thin wiring looms with less copper and the wires break. Mark 5 Mondeos and ABS broken wire faults. Just go and look at Alan Howitt's channel to find out what problems they can cause. Ford made their looms thinner. BMW obviously doing that for a while. Incognito mode. Corey Chase in his step mum. Gosh. Okay, so therefore I'm going to go to soup tomorrow. More refurbishing phones. Oh yes, you work for a refurbishing phone company. Very, very economical, and I fully approve. Well, this phone here is a refurbished phone, by the way. It's a Samsung phone, and it was Class A refurbished, which means I suspect someone may have bought it but didn't like it and sent it back. But apparently it's classed as refurbished. But I don't know under what contents it'd be refurbished. But I fully approve of refurbished phones. That way I can buy them outright. Good night, Tadas, and I am going to try and end this live stream here because I've gone on for too long. Rob, you take care, buddy. I will speak to you soon, and just give me a message whenever you can over Facebook or whatever. I am known as somebody completely different on Facebook, although you may have found me. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave this here because the last hour of this has been primarily, I don't know what this has been, YouTube chat. But I like to be very honest with my subscribers about the realities of making these videos and to kind of make people, no, I don't want people to be appreciative because I know that people appreciate it. But sometimes I do have to say and give people a few reminders about just patience with some of my videos and to just give me a bit of breathing space if I go a few days without a video. And that's the main element of the game. Help your YouTubers by giving them a bit of breathing space. Subscribe if you enjoy the channel. If you watch my videos, please like, because it does set the algorithms into motion. If the YouTube channel grows, it means I might have a little bit more income. No, sorry, I shouldn't do that. That is not how I see things. I prefer not to do that, actually. I'm going a bit mad on camera. But no, that is exactly not what I'm doing off camera. And the money that you will get from 1,000 subs is like, well, you can tell me, Robson, you can tell me because it's pennies, isn't it? It's pennies. So really, honestly, if you like my videos, just like, because it really helps me and it really encourages me. I don't really care about those sort of statistics apart from the likes. I think the likes mean a lot of things. But I think I've got 850 subs. I am 150 away from the golden mark of 1,000 subs. I have no idea what I am going to do for that video But I'm going to hopefully think of something a little bit different. So I hopefully that'll be coming soon. And I will see you. Wait, it could be a new car reveal, 1,000 subs, a new car. That's a good idea, actually. I've just thought of that in my head. Anyway, first name. The only one I know is good from America is Vice Grip Garage. If anyone has watched it, I'll write that down as well. First name, I will definitely. And thank you, first name, for joining the live stream because lovely to have you on. You've got a bit of both. You've got a Rover which you're trying to restore, an MG ZR, and you've obviously got a lot of info on Fords, Mondeos especially. So you are exactly the sort of person I'm trying to appeal to, a Rover and Ford. It's getting late here. Thanks, Andrew. Take care, Smoke Cat. I will see you very soon, son. Speak soon. Nick, I'll let you know if the prom when I take the car to the garage tomorrow, mate. Thank you very much for that. Just give me a message. Maybe this is going to go up on YouTube as an actual episode. It will be uploaded as a live. So if you can, if it will allow you, put it in the comments section about what they said, and therefore I've got some information on where to go, because I don't know what's wrong there, but I don't think you've done anything wrong. You've done your job right. It's just something else that's gone at the wrong time. Honestly, mate, I've had 5,000 hours in the last year and I've not made 35 quid yet. And on that depressing note, but very true note, I'm going to leave this live stream here penniless. Maybe I should do some shout outs. Maybe I should do some beg and borrow. No, it's not called beg and borrow. It's called channel membership. No, that's not what they call it. Maybe I should do some form of GoFundMe. I'll do a GoFundMe. It'll be Feel Sorry for Andrew campaign and his diddy little YouTube channel. But no, I'm not going to ask any money. The element will be that the only thing I'll be selling is stickers. I do have an intention to create channel stickers, Ford Focus Mark 1 Preservation Group stickers, or if you've got a Focus Mark 1, fantastic. I may make some stickers for all the lovely Rover owners who've got a CVT Rover, MG Rover, for the CVT register. So stickers for cars, channel stickers if you want them. They are going to be in the pipeline around about the 1,000 subs mark. So it'd be a special treat. And I'm not going to be selling them for much money at all, just to recoup the costs and to spread awareness of my channel on your cars, because that's why YouTubers do stickers, because you put it on your car, you're going around in your car, people see the sticker and think, oh, never heard of that channel before. Great promotion. It's not about the money, it's about promotion. And that's what we want. Take care, guys. I will see you. Later, Andrew. Speak to you soon. Speak to you soon, sir.